That's right.
See what they say first.
I heard that Jack Harrop was in hospital.
I didn't know, but I knew, I got the impression that it was.
Yeah, I don't know how close. I know. He had a teenage bride or whatever, their ages.
Yeah.
I call this meeting of the Olney City Council, July 22nd, 2024 to order. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing as the Reverend Steve Winger says our opening prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God in heaven, thank you for this beautiful day that you have given us today. Thank you for our community, its citizens, its leadership. Be with this meeting, guide and direct and grant your wisdom. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Ikorst.
Present.
Councilman Iyer.
Present.
Councilwoman Fehrenbacher.
Present.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Here.
Mayor Lambert.
Here. First item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing no public comments, we'll move on to presentation of the consent agenda, which includes to approve minutes of the council meeting on July 8th, 2024, approve and authorize payments of accounts payable July 23rd, 2024, raffle license from the Richland County HEA, a raffle license from the Olney Junior Pro Cheerleading Association, raffle license from the Olney Firefighters Association, and reappointment of Leon Stowler to the Fire Pension Board. Any of these items need to be removed. I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, presentation of ordinances and resolutions, is a request and possible ordinance for the closure of portions of the north-south alley between Northeast and North Washington Streets and East Scott and East Locust Streets. Ms. Hent.
As I explained in my letter, there's been an alley behind my mom and dad's house forever. We used to use it as a garden, and I actually think Dad's shed is a little bit in that alley. When I'm ready to sell it, I'd like for that to just kind of be cleaned up in legal ease, I guess. So I'm just asking for my half right behind my property at 527 North Washington. There are 5 properties on that actually abut this alley. And other than that, it's landlocked to the north and to the south, and that's what I'm asking for. And I guess if anybody else is wanting their property, my question for Bart is, can more than one quit claim appear on, can more than one legal description for a quit claim be on one document? Do we have to file 5 documents?
Well, it's not a quit claim, it's a vacating.
Well,
It's an ordinance that vacates the alley.
okay.
And then it can be pretty complicated, but it says who get, like, which adjacent property owners
Right,
get their
right.
half.
Well, I was confused
Yeah.
because the one to the south of us, they did an ordinance, but it was quick claim, so I wasn't sure.
And that was in 1990?
1990,
I'd have to
December.
look at that. The ones that we've done since I've been
I know.
city attorney have just been ordinances, and it just says the property owner of this tax ID number gets the east half, property owner of this tax ID number gets the west half.
And what they explained, or what we explained in 90 was, it was never, what was the word, given to the city. So I guess the city never had title to the alley, so I was a little confused by that.
Now, yeah, I saw
So-
that in one of the emails. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
so whichever way.
yeah, whichever way.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean.
So if more than one person wants the part of the alley, if they just maybe help me with, pay their portion of the courting fee, I would be very pleased.
Questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
I think probably, the Kesslers are behind Mom's house.
Yeah.
And I think they would probably like to have the back
We would
house.
like the adjoining to our property
Okay,
And I think
from that alley as well.
okay.
Kelsey got information from your neighbors.
Yeah, the juice. I can't say that right.
So you think they want theirs?
They do.
Steve, you live there too, right?
I found out about this on Wednesday afternoon. There has been nothing spoken of doing anything with that alley. Nothing. That alley has been that way since the nineties, since I bought it. I am the only owner of the Stresleys of that house. Terry Hillis, who most people here know, lived there until he and his wife passed away, and they just moved in somewhere else. We don't get any notice. My neighbors didn't even know it was going to occur. They didn't get a letter.
All adjoining property owners to that landlocked portion did get a letter. Did you get a letter, Steve?
We got a letter,
Yeah.
but the neighbors to the north of us did not.
Okay.
There was no letters
There
to the landlocked.
Did you get a letter, Steve?
Yeah, I got a letter. I gave it to my neighbors.
These are the people that got letters.
Do you have a
Kessler,
receipt for those letters?
Kessler, Juiced, Brock, Belinda, and Hope.
Did you get a letter? Didn't get a letter.
So this is just that rectangular portion directly behind there. Not all the way down.
Show me in this letter where it says just the rectangular portion.
It says a portion of the alley.
The rectangular portion, that goes a whole block.
Steve, what's your argument though? I mean,
My argument is nobody was told. They just come along and say, well.
I mean, are you a for or against it? Because it's, I mean, it's not really
I
an
wanna
alley.
know how much it costs. I wanna know where it is marked. I want know a lot of information, because there's a heck of a lot of water that comes down there. And as you well know, I'm a little bit pissed off about all the water coming down through there.
Has that been a problem
It's been a problem for a long time.
that we know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known about it since the 2009, or the 10 or 11 anyway. I mean, now we say we don't, but I mean, it's been my opinion that we did know about it.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear what you said.
I mean, I know that there's some opinion in the city that we've not known about the water problem, but it's been my opinion that we've known about it since 2010 or 11. At least.
That's only on Washington Street. The people who lived on Jefferson Street put up with it for 20 years.
No.
First time I'm aware of it, too. First time I'm aware of it.
Yes.
Wait, the first time you've heard of it?
First
You're not
time.
aware of the lawsuit that I filed against the city?
Talk about it.
No. When was that done, sir? When was that done?
When was that done? 2015, whenever you changed the water flow from Jefferson over to Washington, and you cut holes and ditches through the backyards and ran the water in front of my house with plates on the ground to soak the water in even more. And you didn't do anything. Our city engineer spoke with me the day it happened. My plumber came and called me and says, you got a problem here. I come home, I look at it, underneath my house, it's destroyed. There are holes 6 and 8 feet underneath it. That was the water that you ran in there. And then you didn't even cap the lid. The pipe ran and ran and ran. And if you don't know,
I don't, I'm having a little bit of a trouble following your line of reasoning here. What does this have to do with closing the portion of the alley immediately behind?
because the water runs down the alley where I live.
But but nothing's gonna happen other than ownership. I mean, nothing is gonna happen. It's not like she's gonna
I
block it
didn't
or
know
anything.
that. This letter is vague, ambiguous.
Well, that's
And
why,
I'm-
I
that's-
believe you had an opportunity this evening to address, certainly at public comments, you
I
can
wanna
address
know,
that.
I wanna know, how much is it gonna cost? How much is, how much am I going to get? I'm gonna get half of the alley, how long is it? How wide is it?
First, sir, I don't know who you are because you didn't introduce yourself, and I don't know where you live in relationship to Mrs. Henry, or the property of her parents, so
Ms. Schreier,
I'm in the,
Ms. Schreier, if you don't know who I am, thank you.
I don't. I mean, normally when we have a speaker, that's why we have this podium, you stand and you introduce yourself, and then that way we know who we're talking to. Are you an immediate, adjacent to the property, this
Yes.
property?
And to the north.
And I know the Washington, that house faces the east, so you're on the west side of her property? To the back, to the west? We got a picture here, right?
I'm to the north.
Yeah.
So this is Washington Street here.
This alley is only a portion of his width.
So it's already been closed, this has already been
It's
closed?
already been closed.
And this has already been closed, so there's really only 4 parcels that still have alleys.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Or a little portion right there, we have fifth.
And I,
Can
bel-
I see that, Melinda?
and I believe, Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong,
That's
there is a
mom's
gas
property. This is Steve's
line
property.
easement in that
This was
alley, so
Boomer Nitz's
that nothing
property,
can
and
be
it's
built
already
on
been
that, one,
closed.
correct?
Right,
This
no
is the
permanent
Joyce,
structures over the
and
alley.
this is the Kesslers. And this is Jim Brock's house, but he already has his east 10-foot. You see
And
that
that's
little
already
white
been
line?
blocked off.
Mhm. So you could give
Oh, I didn't
that half
recognize. Lost
to the
weight.
Kesslers, my half to the Kesslers.
Steve, excuse me, I do know you, I didn't
and that
recognize
half to
you.
those people, and
You're
2/3
trim-
of
you're
that
trimmer
half
than I
to
remember.
Steve.
Okay,
So-
and you are to me immediately to the west of the Hinton property? Cause there's really 2 properties that kind of, the property line between the 2 properties to the west would bisect the Hinton property.
I'm north.
To the north of that, parcel 13.
The other house on the right-hand side, on the corner of Scott and Washington, is now owned by a new person because the Hillis has passed.
It sounds like we've opened up another issue here besides just what is on the table now about allowing half of the alley to go to the Hintons and half the alley to go to the adjacent owner.
Well, there's
Is
other
that,
people too that might
should
wanna
this
do
be
it.
tabled and discussed, or would we still consider this?
Well, Ken, there's
action
a
right now.
gas easement in the alley, so no permanent structure can be built there, so allowing the transfer of title to the alley won't
affect the easement?
won't affect anything.
Have any of you seen the letter that came out?
I have not, unless it's, no. No,
You can bring it up. This is the same kind of letter that was.
Yeah.
everyone.
So what is your concern with closing this part of the alley to your south?
Well, since I know nothing about it, what part is the alley? Is it all the way from Scott?
No, it's actually, there's only, it looks like there's some alley to the south, and then right where this is in question, and the rest of it's been vacated at different times.
So is there access to this alley?
No, not
No.
really.
No, it is landlocked.
There will eventually be access, that is what we're asking?
No,
No.
it's just a change in basically the title, so it's not an alley anymore, it's just part of the.
Once it's no longer an alley, it'll never be an alley again.
What is your address? 705 East Scott.
Do you want to see that? Anybody?
Mr. McLaughlin, you might wanna read that, it's so ambiguous, it doesn't mean anything.
I've seen that letter a million times over the last 11 years. It's kind of the same form letter that goes
You've
out.
seen that letter.
Not that letter,
For
but I've
11 years.
seen it go out several times. We've closed a lot of alleys over the last 10 years.
So again,
We have a lot of alleys like this in the city where they're not what you would call an alley. You can't drive through them. They basically look like someone's backyard. There's no easements or anything like that. It doesn't make any sense for the city to have it as an alley if the property owner wants the property.
I guess the only question, the only reason that we would be here is the impact on, because I know
So that alley is no longer open at your property, and sometime it's been closed.
Theirs is open.
It's not, it is, it doesn't show it on here.
I think it does.
On Scott
Shows
Street,
that part.
shows it closed.
He's on Scott Street.
Yeah, there's nothing, there's no alley
Well, maybe
coming off
it
of
doesn't.
Scott.
There's a,
Yeah, it doesn't show it.
no, it doesn't, look. Well, see, but the property lines are different.
How is that?
See, look when you zoom in though, it goes, but it doesn't show it down there.
But that's not even part of the alley we're talking about.
So I wonder why, well, what do you think, Bart? I mean, you're gonna have to do some title search on that, I guess.
It doesn't look,
But this isn't the request.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, I think they're wondering how it affects them. I mean, if,
They
you
can
know,
request their closing if they want.
Cause like you got, whenever the city came in and rerouted the water 5 or 6 years ago, excuse my ignorance, but, it helped alleviate a lot of issues that we were having. We still do get a little flooding right there, so I didn't know what the impact was for us.
and I don't think, I mean, cause we're probably never gonna do anything down that alley anyway, because there's a gas easement down it, so it's not like we can put a lot of stuff down it anyway.
But it won't open up as a back driveway.
No, this would be, I mean, this would be closing it. I mean, it's already closed
Yeah.
down through their
South of them.
various pieces.
It's just that little strip, the ownership will change from the city to whoever the owner is. They can't build anything on it because there's a gas easement or anything like that. So it's just, and like I said, there are a lot of alleys like that. There are some alleys you can drive down, they are actual alleys. There are some alleys that are,
No, yeah.
Are there any utilities in that alley?
there is a
Gas.
gas.
There's a gas.
There's apparently gas down that alley.
There's gas down
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
because
no, I think that's the
of
only thing we-
KTD on Jefferson Street side of it.
there. Yeah, there's a gas line, a gas main down there.
So there is a motion that has been seconded. Any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion? Seeing none,
Will this motion cover also the adjoining neighbor at the same time?
is that the way you read it?
Yeah, they
So
would
just
like.
so
Just
I
to
understand,
clarify.
the only
Anybody that
people
wants their portion.
affected are, so is this sentence only asking that the alley be closed adjacent to her? So Mr. Hope is not affected?
No,
And
and no, nobody else.
and Mr. Kessler and Ms. Ritter are affected potentially.
Yep.
And Mr. Juice and Mrs. James and Tiffany, what did I say, are they here?
They're not here, but I spoke with them
Okay.
earlier today.
So there's only 3 property owners that are actually affected by her request,
Okay.
right? Okay.
This letter didn't say there's only 3 property owners. It says the whole block.
So are you interested in this?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to make the motion?
So you're
that-
interested in your
For
acquiring
anybody
your
who's-
half?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion for anybody who butts up to that alley and would like their portion of the alley. They can have their portion of the alley.
What's the cost? Why would I pay something that's been running water in holes like they had?
That I don't
Since the
think we're
90s.
allowed to talk about out here. 'Cause
Well,
there's
cause I think, Belinda, were you asking for it to just be given since it wasn't titled? Okay, so the only cost that there would be is you all would share the $91 recording fee.
Again,
then it's
it
just-
wasn't in the letter.
But it's just, we pay the recording fee and then it's just part of our property.
Yes, it gets recorded at the courthouse and then they change their records there and that's about it.
Okay.
And you'll get a recorded copy once we get it back too.
It would've been a lot easier to write a letter that people can understand.
But we're not talking about anything further south, because there's a little
No,
part of.
we're just talking about this area right
just
there.
It's totally landlocked.
Yes.
Mr. Zuber, by reading this, I couldn't tell what it was.
I haven't seen that letter, so I don't know.
Would you like to see it?
So would each property owner have to pay the 91, or is it just a group
It's
thing?
split.
I think a group
Yeah,
of 91.
yeah.
So there is a motion on the
Just to be
floor
clear.
that has been amended. Will you resecond that motion?
I will second that.
Okay, very good.
Again?
It's just like- So we're good. Okay. All right, so there's a motion on the floor. Give everybody an opportunity. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda. Discussion of possible action tournaments at Musgrove Ballpark. Ms. McLean, Ms. Ritter, and Ms. Forty.
Hello, and thank you for allowing us to speak this evening. As you guys know, I'm a lifelong resident of Olney, and I am now the co-owner of both Ginger Ale's locations in Olney. I'm also the mother of a daughter who does a lot of travel softball. I am accompanied this evening by Kylie Borgic, who is the owner of the Parkside Best Western Hotel, and Nikki Ritter Daniel, who is the operator of the White Squirrel Snack Shack at the Musgrove Ball Complex. We are here this evening to discuss the need for additional tournaments in Olney. We have a wonderful facility that is underutilized most of the spring and summer. I just have a few facts for you about our own business, and then these ladies also have some facts for you. In March of 22, there was a softball tournament in Olney. Our sales at Ginger Ale's in Olney were 13% greater the very next weekend in March. They were 13% greater when we had the tournament in March versus that next weekend in March of 22. In July of 23, Olney hosted a tournament the 4th of July weekend. Compared to that same weekend in 2024, our sales were down 12%. This is despite having price increases in that same period year over year. This year, we were fortunate to see a tournament hosted here the third weekend of May. Our sales were 25% greater that weekend than the very next weekend. Now keep in mind, on a softball tournament weekend, usually the teams arrive maybe Friday night, most of them Saturday morning, and they leave on Sunday. Our restaurant is only open on Saturday, so those numbers are only affected by one day, where other restaurants and stores in Olney would have the opportunity to have 2 days. This just shows what one area business is experiencing from hosting tournaments in our community. The positives far outweigh any statistic that I can bring you. The impact this makes across our entire community is great, and even the city is profiting from additional sales tax revenue, especially after the business tax went into effect. As a mom of a daughter who has played competitively in the travel softball arena for many years, I can assure you that our facility is fantastic. The netting above the stands allows people to watch without fear of being hit by a foul ball. The additional recreational facilities that we have, the new pickleball complex, our beautiful pool, fantastic playgrounds, and an awesome splash park make our facility one that is sought after. The fees teams pay to enter to play here are minimal compared to other communities. For instance, this year we paid on average $300 to $350 per tournament as a team. The tournament fees that we pay in other areas do not include any gate fees that every spectator pays, and that, what do you say, John, $20 a weekend at least?
$20
per person. In addition to that, we pay for hotels, many meals out, and so many incidentals that happen along the way. Like you always need a new pair of cleats or a face mask or something breaks when you're away. That is exactly what people do when they come to our community. So enough about why I think this is important, because you can probably tell it's something I'm passionate about, but I also want Kylie and Nikki to share their thoughts.
As Lauren mentioned, I am Kylie Borgic, and my husband and I are the new owners of the Best Western Plus. A few months back, I'm sure many of you remember, there's a lot of talk about the eclipse and how it's such a benefit to our small community. Heard people talk about how it's so nice seeing people around town eating, shopping, and supporting all the small businesses. We even heard someone joke about, oh, if we could only schedule a few of those eclipses every now and then. I might have been one of them. Like, those were nice. I believe ball tournaments are the next best thing for Olney. They bring people in from other communities, which is so beneficial to all of us. For example, the third weekend of May this year, there was a ball tournament. Our sales were nearly 3 times higher than the previous weekend, which didn't have a tournament, generating over $600 in hotel occupancy tax on May 18th alone. That's one day, and that goes directly to the city. We see people come in the hotel with a drink in their hand from Ginger Ales, a pizza box from Joe's, a coffee from Ophelia's, and many more. Small businesses are being supported so much during these tournaments. The more of that we can do, we believe, the better off we all are.
Hi, I'm Nikki Daniel, the White Squirrel Snack Shack, and I'd like to add all the great offerings at Musgrove Park. I can't help but to mention, we have the best concession stand around, as we often hear from outside visitors.
That is true.
I don't need to mention when they're not tournaments, my sales are zero. We've recently updated our equipment to more efficiently accommodate the influx of traffic going into our community. I, among others, benefit financially from having these tournaments and would hate to see us all miss out on the opportunities.
So I did speak to Shauna May, who co-owns Monocles. Obviously, she's my daughter's softball coach, so that was an easy conversation for me to have with her. But she said that they experienced significant increase during tournament weekends at their restaurant. And I cannot think that Monocles, Ginger Ales, the hotel, and Nikki are alone when we say this. We appreciate the opportunity you guys have given us today to speak to you about softball and baseball tournaments being hosted in Olney. And our ask is for you guys to brainstorm ways to bring more tournaments to Olney. At this point, there are probably more questions than answers, but as you can see, the impacts these tournaments make to our community is something we need to continue to fight for. We would be more than happy to answer any questions you have for us or to have a conversation about brainstorming ways we can work together to make it possible for there to be more tournaments in Olney.
Questions, comments?
So Lauren, you know I agree with you 100%, right? So, because I sit, everybody on this
You
board
would
knows,
be
I
happy
sit,
not to go to Evansville every
yeah,
weekend?
I sit at a softball tournament every weekend. And I agree, I mean, we were in Jasper, Indiana, 2 weekends ago. I think our complex is even nicer than their complex.
sure.
I mean, we're one of the few complexes that has the net. I mean, we sit in Newburgh, Indiana, how many weekends where we see people get hit with foul
Yep.
balls left and right? So
Or home
our
runs.
our complex is nicer than a lot of the complexes we go to. The problem is, you know, we right now only have one gentleman in town who really does tournaments. I have for 10 years asked and pushed for a recreation director, a part-time one, to help with that. I don't know how to do it unless we try to get more people to host tournaments. I mean,
So, and I said I was gonna say this, we did meet with Sean because we feel like what he's doing is super important. He has been the one spearheading it. If you ask people that come to Sean Sanders tournaments, they appreciate his effort. He works his hiney off to make sure those fields are playable and we're not canceling tournaments, so we actually have people in Olney spending money. I think our ask would be not to mess with Sean because he has been the one spearheading these for so long, but I think there are so many opportunities. I don't know, how many weekends did we count? Like 36 available weekends at our ball fields that aren't being used. And so I don't think Sean needs to be messed with. What he's doing is great, but can we maybe look at having a USSSA tournament here, and what does that look like? I personally think a recreation director would help with that because it would kind of be somebody that can oversee all of that process. I know when you host those big tournaments, you have to be responsible for things like taking the trash out, making sure the bathrooms are clean, getting the fields ready for the next game. Those are all things that are pretty labor intensive, but there's no reason that it can't be done in Olney, and it should be done, in my opinion. We can see the economic impact, not just to individual families, but the city alone is benefiting from these tournaments.
And you mentioned that Sean Sanders is the only one doing them. He has 2 in October, but
I know.
with the raising of the price, it's like 3 times more is what he was used to paying, so he won't have those if we can't work something out to
And-
make that different.
And so, and I'll speak to raising the price, and I didn't actually I've been telling everybody it was $25 a team until I saw today that it wasn't. We actually settled on 50. But the thought process behind that, just so everyone knows, because I was one of with that too, was like Lauren says, we go to these tournaments and we pay $20 a person to get in. I mean, there's some of them we go to, you know, I got myself, my wife, my son. I mean, I'm paying $60 to get in. You know, for a team to have to pay $25 or even $50 for a team, and they split that across a team, that's $6 a family. I would love to pay $6 a family, not have to pay $60. I mean, we're going to one that this weekend coming up where we're going to have to pay $43 a family, plus it's gonna cost us $20 a person to get in, so here again, I'm gonna be spending $80 to go watch softball.
Plus, we paid the $300 registration.
Plus the
fee.
registration fee, yeah, for the team to play, that's on top of that, so. We talked about how nice our complex is, but we have to keep it nice. I mean, that, to me, that's the number one thing. Nobody will come here if we don't keep it nice. Well, to keep it nice costs money. So, it's one of those things, well, how do you do that? We're investing $80,000 in new LED lights. John, I know Little League,
That's
you
just
guys
phase
have
one.
that's just phase one.
Phase one for lights.
We had to buy, what we spent $8,000 on new scoreboard remotes and guts for the scoreboard. I mean, all that stuff costs money. So at the same time, we're not, the city wasn't trying to raise the price because it's like, hey, here's a chance for us to get money. It was, we need money to put back into the complex to
No,
keep
I
it
agree.
nice. for nobody
And
to
I'm the
come.
first one to complain about things I see out there, as some of you know. But like, just things like weeds under the bleachers and the bathrooms not being clean. Those are things that will have to be taken care of if you're wanting to host good tournaments. And there's a problem, in my opinion. There are weeds that a weed eater needs to run or spray needs to spray, and the bathroom should be clean. I don't know why people don't know how to clean the bathroom, but apparently it was a lost art.
I mean, I don't know city-wise, and maybe we can sit down, but the number one thing is finding someone that wants to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean's been great, his tournaments are great. I've asked him before, what can we do so that instead of doing 2 in the fall, you do 6 in the fall, right? But besides him saying yes, I mean, we just need to find somebody.
And he's not opposed to sharing that with other people, but
so-
yeah, you just have to find people that are willing to do it. And you have to keep the complex nice or people aren't gonna wanna keep coming. But I'm telling you, the sales tax that you get from these tournaments will more than pay for the upgrades to the facility.
So you're not
Confident.
really complaining about the price that we're charging?
No, Sean may, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Okay.
We just wanna see more of them. And
But I'm saying he's not gonna do them if you keep that
Right.
price. He's already said that.
Well, that
So,
50, I think he's willing to do. It was 100 that he wasn't
well,
willing
he's
to do.
used to paying $100 a field per weekend, which is $700. And now he's paying $50 a
But he
field,
also
and he has
advertises no gate
25
fees onto his teams. If he tells his teams, hey, it's a $50 gate fee per team, there is not a team that comes here that plays in his tournament that will bat an eye.
And I tried to tell
Not
him
one-
that
not
too.
one.
I think he's scared to run people off,
Yeah.
which is understandable, but
Because again, I sit with Lauren, I mean, since the second week in March, I think we've had 3 weekends we weren't at a softball tournament somewhere. And
and
only
John
one of
can
them
tell
was
you
here.
all about the concession stands too.
Yeah.
And I think,
Spent a lot of time there.
I think with that, with raising the price though, we just can't raise the price and then not provide service.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
Because when the
That's
bathrooms are dirty or the facility is dirty, it doesn't look bad for the people hosting the tournaments, it looks bad for the city of Albany.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
And I asked Sean if he would come sit down with us,
Mhm.
and he said he would, we just haven't figured out a time.
He
to-
was very willing to talk
kind
to
of,
us.
yes, to.
And
figure
I
out
think
what-
John and I just got back from Gulf Shores where we were at a tournament, and they had college-aged young men, I would say, after a game that came out and worked the field, got the lines ready, sprayed it down. If it needed raked, they did that. And I think that that's something that we can do. You're not paying those guys a lot of money to do that, but it sure does look nice, and it makes the facility have longevity too. But I mean, there has to be some upkeep that happens and some administrative pieces that go into running a tournament.
Let me tell you, that was a 4-day tournament, and they charged $20 or
Every day
$10 per day.
Okay, so
for
m-
6 and over.
I have a question. So if our facility is nicer than some of them you're going to, our prices are cheaper, why aren't there more? Why have all the tournaments aren't happening here then?
Well, because the tournament director has to do 100% of that work themselves. So they have to empty the trash with their own resources. They have to keep the bathrooms clean. They have to work the fields. Well, most of these big tournaments, they aren't willing to, oh yeah, and get all the umpires. They aren't willing to do that. Because if I could go to Deaconess or Newburgh and say, hey, I want to have a tournament here, they're like, that's great. You can have a tournament. It's going to be $300 and we're going to charge a $20 gate fee, but we're going to take care of the bathrooms and the trash and making sure the field's ready to go.
So do you think that if we upped our prices even more, so we can pay people to take care of the park, people would come back here for tournaments.
If the
If
park
they-
was, if you offered those same amenities to someone where you had a crew doing those things, I think yes, it would be much easier to.
Even though we would have to charge more probably to cover the expense of taking care of those.
Yes, even Sean said that, if he didn't have to pay, cause he's paying kids to come in and do those things. So he even said, you know, if I didn't have to do those things, I would be willing to pay more per tournament.
And you gotta, again, I don't know how many he's willing to do. If he's
Four.
not willing to do, he's,
Four,
yeah.
wasn't that
But
what he said?
but no outside director is gonna come in and do their own trash and their own umps. When we had that new triple SA come in, they didn't do hardly anything. They expected all that stuff to be taken care of. And they expected the meals to already, you know, be in place. I mean, they didn't do much of anything. And that was the expectation. And I'm sure they might have paid more. I'm not sure how that worked.
They probably.
But any other place like that that's sanctioned, they're not gonna do their fields and their trash, bathrooms, none of that's gonna be happening.
And there's a lot of politics that goes into travel ball, as you could probably imagine. So having these sanctioned tournaments, the teams then get points, and that allows them to go on to nationals and that kind of thing. So sometimes there's a benefit to having a sanctioned tournament besides it bringing in more revenue.
Further questions, comments?
So what can we expect from you guys, I guess?
We have
I don't want this to fall on deaf
and
ears.
I'm with Councilman McLaughlin. I would believe in a director, but we came down to three things. One, it was gonna be a part-time job because the winter's dull. Two, salary, money to pay for a director. And then three, ultimately, the biggest one is like, nobody seems to be interested in doing this. Even if we like put out some feelers, we had nobody interested in doing this.
Well,
And I thought maybe Frank might be able to do some of this, but, you know, his plate was fuller then because he still had the water department. But I don't know if Frank can get involved with this discussion as well, Mr. Bradley. But I agree, it's a nice facility, but what you're saying is that just because of the facility, the feeling now is that if you have a facility, you have to provide all the other things to make it run. Fields, trash pickup, food, all this. People wanna come in and just put money down and then play the game and leave. They don't wanna do anything.
Correct, the
So
directors, yes.
we need to just raise, if we provide all those services, we would have to increase prices, and then would we be able to find someone who would be willing to do those tasks?
I think what we need to do is just a few of us sit down with Frank, sit down with Sean, maybe sit down with Shauna May because she used to do tournaments in the past, and just get their opinions on what would work, what won't work.
Mr. Iyer, don't forget that from every sale that happens in the business district during that weekend, the city does get 2%. So that money is
Well,
definitely being generated to help
Lauren, I've heard
offset
that a
those
lot,
expenses.
and I agree, but I've never heard any hard and fast number.
I gave them to you tonight. I mean, we both gave you hard,
But you
fast
say, oh,
numbers
it brings
tonight.
money into town, but I've never seen a number like if 1,000 people come into town and are here 24 hours, then our sales tax goes up
So
X
you,
amount of
by
dollars.
me saying
Well,
my
because
sales
it's a-
increased
It's just a nebulous figure. I agree, it is a
25%,
positive.
Mr. Iyer, one day at our store alone. That's not enough of a number for
But
you?
you're applying your store to all other retail stores, and you
I'm-
offer a
Say
different
all.
product. You're adopting a different product than.
I'm just saying, if I'm going up by 25%, I guarantee you that other eating establishments and other retail stores are seeing an
Yeah, but
influx.
our largest
and-
source of
well-
income or sales tax is probably Walmart. You
What?
know, or you know.
Do you go to Walmart?
Walmart.
Have you been to Walmart during a tournament? Because you won't go in there without seeing a girl in a uniform.
Yeah. And I can say from being around town during these tournaments, Dairy Queen, Subway, every place, it's like, oh my God, we have another tournament, you know?
You don't want to go during those days.
Well, and that's how
But
it
it's
is when
great
we
to
go
see
to
that.
tournaments. I mean,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
2 weeks ago we were in Jasper, Indiana, right? I took my kids bowling there. We went to the escape room there.
And our whole team went to
I
eat
mean,
at Mexican.
we-
I had to
yeah.
ask for 60 seats at a Mexican
Yeah.
restaurant.
I mean, so
That's a
I
huge
know how
impact.
much I spend going other places for softball. So I know how much other people would spend here.
I mean, I think the demographic is people that can afford to take their kids on travel ball.
I can't.
Will-
None of us can afford it. We
So
just
the sales tax revenue will more than pay for a person, but then it comes down, who is this person? How do we, and it's a part-time job too, so this person's very devoted, but just part of the year, you know, because it's dormant in the winter.
probably a retired person out there that would be willing to take that on.
Bring
And
it
I think- and I
forward, bring
mean,
it forward.
I think as we
Well,
think
if the
about.
job's not posted, how are you gonna know if somebody is interested?
Okay.
Where do
or
you
not?
post that?
It's important,
Facebook?
it's important to think
Sure.
about though, if it's a recreation coordinator or a director, it's not just baseball and softball,
Soccer out
pickleball and
there.
swimming, there's other things that we
No,
can do with
we-
that
we-
person to add value to the community for
Yeah.
You
individuals.
know, we could use this, it's just,
Who's gonna
I,
do
you
it?
know, I'm
I've
only here
beat this
6
bush
years,
for
but
10 years.
it just-
Yeah, I bet we
I'm
could look back
happy.
at the pickleball tournaments too and see how much sales have increased during those. I mean, there's wonderful facilities here that could be utilized more than they are.
And I do know Robinson uses a lot of retired people during that time period for recreation or taking care of the grounds. Maybe that's how we try and snag someone to do this.
Very good. Anything further? Questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, is going to be postponed. It was discussion and possible action on the Only Christmas Parade. Councilman McLaughlin is going to get back to us on that. Next item on the agenda is ordinance to amend section 2.32.210, charge for services outside the jurisdiction and for services to property from outside jurisdiction of the City of Olney Municipal Code. Mr. Zuber and Chief Harmon.
Basically, the statute, Illinois statute changed in 2020? 2019, yeah, and we were charging a flat rate, and then an additional hourly rate that didn't precisely mirror the Illinois statute, and so to mirror the Illinois statute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to authorize a 5-year subscription renewal agreement with the Emergency Services Marketing Corporation. I'm a responding from the fire department. Chief Harmon.
So I'm Responding is a resource that we use to see who's available for calls. So as you guys all will know, we are a department that lives and breathes basically with our paid-on-call staff, and our full-time staff as well. But we have 20 roughly paid-on-call staff that use this, have used it, in my entire tenure at the fire department as well as prior to me being there. It's something that we've already budgeted for, to pay the 1 year, which is $810. I talked to Alan and Jane, and because we got an offer from them to basically sign a 5-year contract, and the savings is $150 a year to do that, and I just felt like it made more sense to sign a 5-year contract. We've used it for this long, without any issues. It's a resource that we definitely need and use all the time. So I was just asking that the council be okay with signing a 5-year agreement, saving $150 a year.
I'll make the motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Further discussion, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to support and commit funds for services provided by Greater Wabash Regional Planning Commission. Ms. Quinn.
This is just a resolution they ask us to sign every year, and along with that comes an invoice for $2,500.
Questions, comments, motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to accept quote for sewer department camera operating system and Rio waive formal bidding procedures and amend the 24-25 budget. Mr. Lathrop.
I don't know what all you have, you got the papers that I have, but, we can do new, or we can do used. The new one is $114,791, with a 12-month warranty. If, we go used, they will have went through all of it, it's $28,810 with a 6-month warranty. The camera will not work without it. We take the actual tractor part, camera, and we have it overhauled every year. We've already done that. After they had it, they found out this piece here was going bad, and basically the camera will not work without it.
So what is best?
my suggestion is, the used one.
Mhm.
I think they said it was like a year old, they went through all of it, so.
And this is a camera we purchased, 5 years ago? It's not the camera part, it's the
Yes.
track on it.
So the part that's bad is, I'm gonna think it's 15, 20 years old. It's VHS, so it's way outdated.
Okay, very good.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved, second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, further discussion, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to accept quote for a snow plow and controls, waive formal bidding procedures, and amend the 24-25 budget. Mr. Parker.
And council knows we bought a couple new dump trucks, or used dump trucks new to us here recently, and prepping them for the snow season, we need to get, snow plows put on them, and the cost of that, per plow is $20,850. We were quoted a price quite a bit less than that, but, there was an error in transposing the numbers, and, today is $20,850. We do have money in the budget to, amend the budget, change it over.
Questions, comments, motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to amend ordinance 23-38 prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other methods within the limited area of the city. Mr. Bridges.
You originally passed this ordinance back in December, restricting use of groundwater, the EPA reviewed it, made some minor changes to it. Just need to pass the ordinance.
Questions, comments, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda under reports from elected and appointed officials, status report, Mr. Parker.
I have nothing additional, be glad to answer questions anybody may have. Well, I can comment on the, CSX Railroad here on Whittle, they're supposed to have worked on it last week. The day they were supposed to show up, last Wednesday, I believe it was. It rained, so they didn't have anybody to work. They had a flagger. A flagger is a big thing that we need from CSX. So, we don't know, Mike, do we know exactly when they might come back?
Maybe 16th and 17th
And,
of August.
okay, we're gonna go on today, did they show up that you know, aware of for the sewer?
I'm aware of on Main Street.
Okay, they're supposed to have shown up to work on the sanitary sewer. And then, August 12th, if my memory is correct, is when they're gonna start on, E Street Bridge. That's what the plan is. The contractor was here, we had a pre-construction meeting last Thursday, I think it was. And, they're ready to get started, but there again, they have to have a flagger from CSX in order to get on that property.
Questions, comments for the city manager? RCDC report, Mrs. Herman had to leave. Chamber of Commerce report?
Bicycle Classic coming up August the 24th. And the new website for the chamber is up and running.
Okay. Tourism board report?
Last Sounds of Summer was last week with a good crowd. We are already starting to look for new artists next year. One of our artists that we've had for several years is retiring from the business. And we are also investigating some other things that Friends of Olney will be hoping to provide to the city. And
Excellent. Very good. We have no need for closed session, I understand. The next item on the agenda is to approve minutes of the closed session on July 8th, 2024.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Is there any further business to be had?